I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Can we have the roll call, please?
Sure. Councilmember Ann Standig?
Here.
Councilmember Rogers?
Here.
Councilmember Turner? Here. Councilmember Wolsheimer?
Here.
Mayor Craig?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, I would like to make a slight change to the orders of the day. I'm actually moving orders of the day up to this so that we can change this, so that we can move the oral communications, so that we can speed Mr. Allen on his way. So can I have a motion, or I'll make a motion to do that? I need a second and a vote. We have a second. Can I have a vote to change the orders of the day? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have changed the orders of the day, and we will now start with oral communications. I have a blue card from Mr. Lon Allen.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you. I don't need the 3 minutes. There was a statement made in the last council meeting that was inaccurate, and I'd like to correct the record. Back in 2016, when I was mayor, I on many occasions said that one of the several reasons that I preferred the Baptist church to the hacienda was that the proposal was to rezone the Baptist church for 15 housing units, and Mr. Stanley wanted 80 housing units at the hacienda. At the last council meeting, one of our residents stood up and said that what I said was, quote, an untruth, close quote. Well, it offends me when someone says I didn't tell the truth. During 2016, we had two council meetings that considered the rezoning of the Baptist church, and at each of those two council meetings, we received written communication from Mr. Stanley's attorneys, and in both of those each of those letters for May 3rd and May 17th are part of the package, so they're part of the official records of those meetings, and they are available to members of the public. In both of those letters, Mr. Stanley's attorney said that not only was the Baptist church not a feasible site, and the hacienda was, but that appropriate housing at the hacienda would be 20 units per acre or greater. Well, 20 units per acre times 4.3 acres is more than 80 units. So I just wanted the opportunity. I hope that none of you as council people have someone at a meeting stand up and say that you didn't tell the truth. I didn't much appreciate it, and I just wanted this opportunity to correct the record. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just doing a little court management down here. Okay, thank you. Seeing no other members of the public that would like to speak, I am going to move to our presentations. And first up, we have an update from the Los Gatos Monte Sereno Police Department. Mike, come on up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, I'm Michael D'Antonio. I'm the interim police chief for the Los Gatos Monte Sereno Police Department. And I'm here tonight to report on our police services contract and the services that we provide, along with some crime statistics. And what we're going to focus on is the first 6 months of fiscal year 17-18. And then the plan is to come back at the end, few months after the end of fiscal year 17-18, to give you an annual report, not only for the last 6 months of the fiscal year, but in addition to what the whole year looked like. But I wanted to start off with some historical information, because what we do is when we report our crime statistics to the FBI, it's under the Uniform Crime Reporting data. And so I wanted to just give you an idea of what the last several years have looked like. So if you're not able to see the slides or don't have the paperwork in front of you, I'm just going to maybe go through this quickly. If you go back to 2012, we had a total of Part 1 crimes of 41. 2013, we had 37. In 2014, we had 38. We had in 2015, we had 42 Part 1 crimes. In 2016, we had 32 Part 1 crimes, and in 2017, we've had 21. So we had a couple spikes there in 2012 with 41 Part 1 crimes, and then in 2015, we had 42 Part 1 crimes. And so the last 2 years, we've been able to reduce those. So those are something that we're proud of, especially in light of many of the propositions that have passed in California, such as Prop 47 and Prop 57 are the two main ones that come to mind. And both of those have been challenging for law enforcement, as many of you may know. I may have said before that not all the statistics are in for what has really happened due to those propositions. But Cal Chiefs has looked at the numbers and has seen the increase of property crimes throughout California and have attributed it to specifically Prop 47. So again, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Los Gatos Monte Sereno Police Department, but Cal Chiefs has started to do some work to move forward some legislation for the 2000 Safe Cities Act, that if anyone has any interest in that act and what that means, I'll be happy to send it out. Just for awareness as well, the Part 1 crimes include murder, rape, robbery, aggravated assaults, burglary, larceny, stolen vehicles, and burglaries. So as we go to the next slide, although it's not a 5-year comparison, it's actually a 6-month comparison. If we look at where we were at in July of 2016, from July of 2016 to December of 16, and then again in 2017 from July and December. Fortunately, there's all zeros there under homicide, rape, and robbery. We're also a zero in aggravated assaults, and this is fairly consistent for Monte Sereno. Is that the bulk of the work that we do, or the crime that you have here, surrounds property crimes. So we're fortunate again in the first 6 months of fiscal year 16-17, we had 6 burglaries. So far in the first 6 months of 2017, we've had 3. We had 6 larcenies. As compared, we're up to 10 larcenies in 2017. Again, that's July through December, and 1 stolen vehicle, both in 2016 and 2017. So as I always do, I try to break down what some of the significant crimes were. So on the burglaries, we did have 3, and that's really in that first 6 months of the fiscal year. And 2 of them were residential ransack burglaries, where somebody came to the residence, determined no one was home, and forced entry into the residence. The third burglary, we classified it as a burglary based on the elements of what FBI requires us to. That was a painting that was stolen of significant value. However, it was over a 2-year period. It was last noticed in I want to say 2014. And by the time it got reported to us, so we weren't able to really determine a time frame on that burglary, or if it was truly somebody entered the residence forcefully, or if it was somebody who was already in there legally and could have actually stolen that property. On our larcenies, which is our thefts, we had 3 mail thefts, which is not unusual. We had 4 auto burglaries. We had a theft from an unlocked vehicle, and we had a theft of a license plate. So one of the things that we'll focus on a little bit tonight is, because it's been challenging for us, both in Los Gatos and in Monte Sereno, is our auto burglaries, or our thefts from unlocked vehicles. They have gone up since January. We're seeing an increase in our auto burglaries. Not so much in Monte Sereno, but in Los Gatos we are, and we're close enough that I just want to be able to provide a little bit of a public safety message that as much as we can, what we're trying to do is get to the message out to the folks is that we need to lock our vehicles, and that's the first step, but unfortunately that's not going to be the solution to the problem, is because we are getting window smash burglaries. And what we're finding is that folks are leaving valuables in plain sight. And so the more we can get folks to try to put their valuables in the trunk, preferably before they land at or park at the site that they're at, just in case somebody is watching. We're hoping we'll get some deterrence for that as well. For the last 3 weeks, we've adjusted our Detective Bureau's patrol schedule to work the early evenings, because we're seeing them right around what we call our shift change, which is anywhere from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, which is in the period of our shift change at 7 o'clock, and we're seeing those more in the downtown area. So we're really trying to be proactive to figure out if we can make some arrests. And just when I thought we were good, we had about a week ago, we had a burglary in Muni Lot, what we call Muni Lot 1, and that's right behind Steamers. In that Muni Lot, and about an hour later, we had an officer see a suspicious vehicle. The vehicle made a couple quick turns. He was able to make the stop, and we were able to locate the property from that auto burglary. It was about $6,000 worth of camera equipment in the vehicle. And there was a second burglary, and I don't recall the property that was taken that was also found in that vehicle. But unfortunately, it's something that it's not just one suspect who's committing these. I think we're getting multiple folks coming into the area. The county burglary meetings have actually started to track how they're coming from Santana Road or Cupertino. We have some intelligence that tells us they're coming down Saratoga, and then Saratoga Sunnyvale Road, and then coming into our jurisdiction. So we took advantage of some of that information from the burglary meetings, and some of the cars specifically that folks were seeing in the area of the burglaries. And we were fortunate enough to make a car stop last night. As the officer was at the window of the vehicle, it sped away. The car stop was just for a minor vehicle code violation. It didn't have any license plates. It had paper plates, and it was an older car, and that has been the MO for what we've been seeing, is that they're using paper plates so that you can't get the license plate. Turns out about 5 minutes later, we got some information towards the end of South Santa Cruz that there may have been a vehicle accident. Officers responded there, and it was the vehicle that the officer had originally stopped. And when that one was stolen out of San Francisco. And it's just interesting, and doesn't mean anything for sure, but the suspects that we did arrest in the auto burglary of the camera equipment, they were out of San Francisco as well. So it's something, if you're reading the papers, it's not just us. We just need to be more proactive. We need to try to be more creative, and really ask for the public's assistance. If you see anything, if you see a vehicle that doesn't look right in your neighborhood or in an area, just please call us. Getting my papers mixed up. Okay, next slide. So a couple of the high cases that I just wanted to highlight, and I'll try not to go into too much detail. One that we're just really proud of is that first case. It's a life-saving effort by one of our corporals. We got a call of a possible attempted suicide or drowning. When the first officer got on scene, he was able to jump in the pool and get the victim to the edge of the pool, started CPR, and we were able to resuscitate the person and save that individual's life. So as you'll see later, that's the only priority one call that we've had in the last 6 months, and that's part of the response times that we're proud of that we were able to get there in a little over 4 minutes and have an effort to save someone's life. The second one you'll see there is interrupted auto burglaries, and it says burglary, but there's 4 cases up there. And that happened. What happened again? It was great. It was great that folks called us. It was about 3:30 in the morning at a residence in Monte Sereno. Auto alarm went off. The resident happened to be up or was woken up by the alarm. Looked out the window and saw an individual near her vehicle. Yelled out the window. The person fled. She called the police. We responded, and I don't have that response time, but my guess is it's probably really quick because we were able to get there in time to see a vehicle pulling away from the area. Stopped that vehicle, and inside the vehicle was stolen property, not from her car, which was interesting. We knew something was up, but from another auto burglary that was later reported during the same night. The suspect was on parole for previous auto burglaries and possession of drugs, drug paraphernalia, and a stun gun. He went to jail, and it was just a strange night. And then a little bit later, we got a report of a pickup truck that was in somebody's driveway. It was just somebody parked in my driveway. Responded to that, ran the plate, called the owner of that vehicle. It had just been stolen probably 15, 20 minutes before. We think they saw us and just and abandoned the vehicle. So then what we did is we provided the information to briefing in the morning at 6:30. We thought we probably still had suspects outstanding because of that second vehicle. And later on that morning, one of our detectives decided to go tool around and see if he could just find someone in the area, and ended up making a stop on a suspicious individual. And it looked like he was trying to hide something in his jacket. The detective made the stop. He had an Apple iPad laptop in his possession, and that was the iPad that was stolen out of the first vehicle where the alarm went off and called us. So we got really fortunate. I mean, sometimes it's good hard work, but we just got lucky on some of this stuff. So really proud of the folks that are working hard to try to get these property crimes to stop or at least deter and get some folks in jail. Those last cases I just want to talk about because they're really sad, especially when our elderly citizens get targeted. We've had 4. They're just scams. So what we're seeing is, two of them were interesting, where the individual got a call, said, "Hey, your computer has been infected with some type of malware. We need you to get on your computer, and then I need access to it." So they allowed somebody to remote into their computer, and they were able to get specific information off the computer, and then later commit identity thefts. We had one was just a straight up lottery scam where it said, "Hey, I won the lottery, I can't collect it, but if you'd send me X amount of dollars, then I'll split it with you," kind of thing. And we just continue to see them, and they're really hard to find the folks. There's a lot of investigative work, and a lot of times we run into dead ends on that. So again, a little bit of a community message that just really be aware. Anything you're getting, even on your computers. I mean, we're getting a lot of training for any type of malware on our emails, just to be really cautious about what type of links we're opening and things like that. So this one just talks about our calls for service and our proactive incidents. And I look back at the last couple of years before I got here, and we're just really consistent, which I guess is a good thing. I mean, we usually average right around 60 calls for service a month, and we're right in that 40 range for our proactive incidents. And then we wanted to look and see, out of the calls for service, what were our highest calls for service. And it turns out that almost 30% of the calls for services are for residential alarms. Which isn't a bad thing. It's good to have a lot of alarms, and so we are proactively we respond to those. Those are our priority 2s, but that was the majority of the calls for service on that. And then our proactive incidents is always, those are our traffic stops, those are our patrol checks, our subject checks. We still have our predictive policing, which attempts to use algorithms to give us at least an idea where we think the next possible crime could occur. So we look at those in briefing, and the officers take those, and then they do their, we call it predictive policing, and they do those patrol checks. And going back to the response times, and I'll go over it again quickly. I know I go over it every 6 months when we meet. Is that the priority one call? That's where it's a threat to immediate life. Something is immediate. It's a car accident where there's known injuries or there's known reported injuries. It's something where there's a violent felony in progress. It's something where somebody's not breathing, potential drowning, those types of things. Those are going to be our priority one calls. Our priority two calls are those immediate calls for service where there's a property crime, like that, the call where where the officers got the call that somebody might be breaking into my car. That's still a priority call for us, and even though it falls under priority two, like I said, I probably should have pulled that response time, because when we hear that there's somebody in progress breaking into a car, even though there's nobody around who could potentially be hurt, we're going to get there in a hurry, just because we're interested in trying to do our best to get some folks in custody that are doing these property crimes. What else did I want to tell you about that? Oh, and so if you do the math, the one thing if you do the total calls on the other page, there's about 50 fewer calls, because we also have a priority four, and that's where we do our vacation checks. So there was about 50 of those, but we don't have a response time for that, because it's proactive that we're doing those vacation checks. And we get into a little bit more of the standards of the contract and what we provide. So by contract, it's 80 hours per week of patrol services that we provide. This last 6 months, we were a little bit higher. We're 89 hours for a total of 2,334 hours of patrol, when in 6 months we need to be at least 2,080. So I'd always rather be over, obviously, than under. And then we also put up here the number of hours of cases investigated by the Bureau. So the number of hours they've worked to investigate cases after patrols worked on them, and they've come back. We bring that number because part of the contract is obviously that concern that if we go over a specific amount of investigative hours, then I would need to notify the city manager, and we talk about that, but we're nowhere close to that. And then our patrol hours, and our traffic enforcement hours. Same thing by contract, where we provide 8 hours a week of additional traffic enforcement. And so we were at about 303 hours for the 6 months. Normally we'd be closer to that 208. And so I asked, because that one was quite a bit higher, and we went back and looked, and it was really during the beach cut through traffic. We really focused on traffic enforcement, not only in Los Gatos, but in Monte Sereno. So we brought some folks in on overtime, specifically to work on the traffic. So I think I know that's why we're seeing some additional traffic hours there. The traffic enforcement for that 6 months period resulted in 181 traffic citations, and those broke down into 47 courtesy cites, 76 moving violations, and 58 mechanical cites. And so just to go back to that courtesies, and I'm not sure how much I've focused on this on the past, it's still something that we do, both in Los Gatos and Monte Sereno, and I'm not aware of anyone else in the county that does it. I still think it's a benefit. So it gives our officers the ability not to write we call it a D. David, but that's a true traffic ticket. So in other words, that traffic ticket, if you sign it, it's not admission of guilt. You have the opportunity to go to court. If you believe you committed the violation, you can pay the fine, go to school, that type of thing. But we'll still write the courtesy violations, and that's at the discretion of the officer. I think I may have said this before, that we will check. We keep those on file. So if an officer is going to write a courtesy cite, They will check our courtesy cite file. If somebody's already been issued a courtesy cite, then more than likely they're going to get an actual traffic citation at that point. And again, we do that because it is about education. If there's a way that we can educate folks to drive safely or to drive safer, and we think we've achieved our mission by a courtesy cite, we allow the officers to do that. And sometimes it's just flat out the violation may not be that egregious. So if you're running through a stop sign, at a couple miles an hour, but nobody was around, and was it really going to cause an accident? The officers have the ability to at least make that stop, provide the courtesy citation and education, and try to change some of that driving behavior. And then of those citations, we had 7 reported traffic collisions, and 4 of them were property damage only, and 3 of them were minor injury accidents. And as you can see, if you look at the locations on there, it looks like 4 of them are on Saratoga-Los Gatos Road, and that's where the bulk of the accidents were seen. So we continue to work LiDAR, radar in that area. I've asked the day shift patrol folks and our motorists to really take a look at the crosswalk on Saratoga Los Gatos Road and Dave's, just because it's just not unusual when you put up a new traffic control device, whether it's a crosswalk, a stop sign, or a light. Sometimes it takes a while for folks to really understand that there's something new there. And we'll do the same thing initially. If it's not incredibly egregious, we'll go ahead and write a courtesy citation. But the feedback I'm getting that the folks are actually on their own going back out there, because we're still not getting the compliance that we would like on that at that traffic at the crosswalk there. So we'll keep working on it and do our best to mitigate any issues there. And so that actually ends the report. Before the questions, I just wanted to officially, and on behalf of myself personally, but the whole department, the Monte Sereno picnic that we get to come to every year. The next Monday when we come in, the folks that have a chance to go, they just love it. The food's amazing. We get to hang out for a little bit and show off some of our stuff and the cars. And so thank you. We look forward to every year.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the chief? Okay.
I have just one.
Sure.
In terms of the traffic citations that you issue that are actual citations for speeding, whatever the case may be, how many of those actually go to court, and do we get convictions on?
So we don't have very many. So it's about 3% of our total citations actually get disputed. So that I know that because I look at it, and I look at it for 2 reasons. And the first one's not going to sound very appropriate, but if I have somebody going to traffic court, it costs me overtime, especially if they have to come in on their days off. So I just want to make sure we're writing good cites and that they're not being disputed. And then the second part of the question, how much was 3%? Oh, conviction rate. I don't have the numbers on the conviction rate.
But mostly people are settling on paying them.
Yeah, it's unusual for us to lose a ticket in court. It's just we don't lose that many.
And this is kind of an unrelated question you may not know the answer to. Do we get all of the revenue from that, or is that?
We don't. We get a very small, tiny bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the county takes the majority. And I'm going to guess, and I probably shouldn't, but I want to say it's probably 15% at best.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for everything you guys do. That's absolutely wonderful service, and we couldn't be luckier to have you.
Thank you. As always, absolutely my pleasure to be here. All righty.
Curtis, Avert, any questions for the chief?
No, thanks.
Okay, very good.
No, not for me. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Well, wait a second. I'm not going to let you get out of here without at least a couple of
All
questions.
right, I'll take them.
The first one's kind of a fun one, only because I've gotten into discussions and people have given me different answers. In a crosswalk, let's say the one over by Masal, when somebody is crossing, do you have to wait for them to get to the other side of the street or just over the center line before you can proceed? I've gotten two different answers.
So the law, and the black and white part of the law is they have to be completely across the street. So in other words, if, let's say I'm going westbound, somebody steps off and they're walking, north to south, and now someone else says, well, I'm getting that wouldn't work north south. Anyway, and somebody's coming eastbound, even if technically you have to wait until that person completely clears that crosswalk and steps. Now, our officer is going to write that citation sometimes, and the reason why I can tell you that is my wife got cited on Lincoln Avenue in Willow Glen, and it was that exact same thing where someone crossed in front of her, cleared the first half of the intersection, was still in the crosswalk. She got cited, and she didn't understand. I stopped. I let him go.
Yeah.
So that's the law on that one.
And then the second one, of course, being a little bit more tragic with the incident we had in Florida. What do we do in this area? Just kind of for the record thing, I know that you do have a police officer, you have a resource officer, and do we know of any kind of incidences with any students in Los Gatos that need to have the kind of attention that this student in Florida should have had?
So fortunately, we don't. Nothing has risen to us. So could there be someone out there? I don't know. Is there anything that I have that we have vetted out and said, no, we don't think it's a risk? I don't even have that. So I don't have any reported incidents of, hey, you need to look at this person.
But I guess we have a procedure, and the school staff is trained, and they're not shy about saying, hey, we think we got a problem here, and I know you guys will go out and take a look at it right away as soon as you hear about it.
Absolutely. So, and we haven't had that. The ones we have been getting lately, the last two had to do with the internet and kids passing child pornography back and forth, that type of thing, and they don't see it as child pornography, but even those, we're on right away. Now, what we do for the school is we did it in the beginning of this school year that myself, Captain Tata, our SWAT team sergeant, and there was one other person there. Anyway, the SWAT team sergeant provided training to staff for how it's our active shooter protocol. So it's a video. The county uses it, and so it actually gives the teachers an idea of what's going to happen in an active shooter. Then we talk about our response, what our response looks like, our protocols, and what that looks like. And now the next step is the principal at Los Gatos High emailed us. I may not have gotten it until Saturday. I just got the email that said, hey, here's 4 dates. Can you guys come back and do some additional training and safety training? So it's on everyone's mind. It's something that, every day when I come to work, and my guess is every officer, it's sad, but it's in the back of our mind. It just is. The number of school shootings since just the first of this year, 2018, the first couple months, are extremely high. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but when I heard the number, I was amazed that there's been that many school shootings in a couple months. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much. And again, really appreciate having you guys servicing our city. You guys do an awesome job.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
All right.
All righty.
Thank you. Okay, and now we have our Youth Commission, and they're going to give us a little bit of report from our Vice Chairman, Vishal.
Hello, everyone. I am Vishal Narayan. I'm the Vice Chair of the Monte Sereno Youth Commission, and I'm here on behalf of Ashley Kupor, who is our chair, and as well as the rest of the Youth Commission. And I'm just gonna pull up a report that Ashley wrote up about what the Youth Commission has done so far this year. So we've been meeting regularly every single month, and we have in most of the meetings we have had speakers like us present for the first few minutes just to inform us about different events happening like throughout the county. And we've had speakers talk about topics from violence prevention to how to eat healthy, as well as how to utilize our public library. Our youth commission right now, we're currently involved in the Drive 25 Keep Kids Alive campaign, where we distribute garbage can decals individually among many residents, and we put the decals on their trash cans just as a reminder for other people driving through the streets to drive safe and well below the speed limit. And we are also making a flyer that we're going to post on Nextdoor and around Dave's Avenue Elementary School. On April 27th, we are planning our first ever large event as the Monte Sereno Youth Commission, and we are planning a movie night where we will be showing the movie The Secret Life of Pets. And this will be held at the Dave's Avenue Elementary School, and it'll be a fundraiser for SVACA, the animal shelter. And right now, we're currently in the process of confirming the location and ironing out the details, and we're also going to start marketing very soon. And a few weeks ago, Ashley, the chair, as well as a couple of the other commissioners, attended a presentation by Evan Lowe about the ACA 10 bill, which is a proposition to change the voting age in California to 17 years old. And Evan Lowe is urging youth commissions in the county, as well as the city councils, to approve this bill to show public support and hopefully get it passed by the next year. And we are going to get back to him on that soon. We're going to follow up on him as a commission. And overall, those are the main events that we have going on, and we're excited for things that come up. Are there any questions?
Great.
I'm sorry, that was
Any questions? Okay. Abert, Curtis, any questions?
No,
Okay. Well, very good. Vishal.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming in tonight and filling in for Ashley. And, you guys are really stepping it up a notch this year. So
Yeah. All right.
looking
Thank you
forward
for
to
that.
laying the groundwork for the future.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Now we are at written communications, which there are none. So that takes us to the consent calendars, items 1 through 6. Would anybody like to pull any items, or do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to approve?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, so that passes unanimously. Sue, thanks for sticking around.
Sorry.
He's like, phew. Okay, public hearings. We don't have any public hearings tonight. There's no unfinished business. That takes us to new business. Item number 7, the Pavement Management Program Status Report. And I see 2 of our finest traffic people over there, Jim and Julie. And go ahead.
I
How'd you
will
get us
start.
started?
Good evening, Mayor Craig, members of the council, Julie Bessat, city engineer. I'm going to give you a status report on year 1 of the city's 5-year pavement management program. And with that, we have prepared 4 slides, which I'm going to quickly go through those slides with just a brief introduction, and then we would be more than happy to answer any question you may have. As you recall, in January of 2017, the council accepted the pavement management budget options report, which led to adoption of the 2017-2018 pavement management program, budget for that year, and also a financing plan for the next 5 years. The first slide that you're looking at, which I am sure you have seen that in a previous presentation, gives you an idea of what has been basically is budgeted for the next 5 years, starting from 2017 through 21st, with the first year of a budget of approximately over $800,000, with a transfer of $750,000 from general fund, with the overall goal of raising our streets rating from fair to good. And the second year, it's basically we're looking at about a budget of a little over $400,000 with the transfer of, initially when we were putting the budget together, we were looking at $150,000 transfer from our general fund to make up the what we were lacking. If you don't mind going to the next slide, we have a good news that since we have more revenue from gas tax from what we anticipated. Now we only need to, in order to make up the budget that we have for 2018, 2019, we only need to transfer $135,000. So the pie chart that you're looking at right now, it's the budget for the fiscal year 2018-19 with the total budget of $448,000 with only transferring of $135,000 in the general fund. We can go to the next. This is basically the map of showing the streets that have been selected for our 2017-2018 pavement management program. And the colors that you see on the left-hand side are basically the treatment that we are going to be using for different streets. Anything from Cape Seal, overlay, slurry seal. And the reason behind selecting these particular streets there's several reasons behind it. One of it, the main reason was to kind of group them in a neighborhood that that would be minimizing the cost for contractor to mobilize. So he does not have to go through one side of the city to the other side of the street. So we try to group the streets in one neighborhood. The second reason is to minimize the inconvenience to the residents. We don't want to go ahead and start working in one neighborhood, pave the street, come back the next year, come back the following year. So this way we are minimizing the impact to the local residents. And as well as looking at the utility. We have done an excellent job of contacting all the utility companies, asking them if they have any project coming down the pipeline, putting them on notice that we want to go ahead and overlay the street. And as a result of that communication with the utility companies, we were able to delete a section of Vineland because San Jose Water has a project that is coming up in 2018, and we were able to negotiate with them, and they would take care of that portion of the street at their own cost. So those are some of the reasons behind selecting those streets. And again, we try to utilize the philosophy of selecting best first because it's cheaper, it's less cost to go ahead and maintain the same rating as we have on those streets rather than going down to the streets that they need a lot of attention, they need reconstruction and so forth. And what we are doing part of this package as well, again, this is a list. It's almost 90% complete. We're still looking at if we need to change anything, but at this point, this is our draft list. And we are considering to add Blanchard Street also as an alternate bid item. So if we go out to bid, we will add that option to the bid package that if we find a contractor who's, we got a very competitive bid price from this contractor, we can go ahead and add Blanchard, so that way we could complete all of these pavement with the less cost-effective cost to do that, to take care of the pavement management as well as Blanchard. If you don't mind moving to the next slide.
The asphalt portion of Blanchard.
The asphalt portion, not the frontage. Thank you for that clarification, yes. The next slide just gives you an idea of the schedule for this project. Where we are right now, we are in a process of the very top step, preparing the bid package. And after we have the bid package, we're thinking it's going to take about 3 weeks. We will go out to bid and we advertise the project for about 4 weeks to be able to reach out to all the contractors in the Bay Area. And we are anticipating the bid opening would be sometimes early April with award of the contract in mid-April. And it normally takes about a couple weeks to put the contract together, to get the bonds from the contractor. And anticipating to have a pre-construction meeting a week after that. And the construction would last probably about 4 weeks. And it all depends on whether we will be able to add Blanchard to that list or not. But that all depends on the bid that we receive. That pretty much concludes our presentation. Jim is also here to help me to answer any question I may not have the answer for.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any questions for staff? Terry, did you want to add anything?
I have a question.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Curtis.
Well, actually, it's not really a question. Because my street is on there, do I need to recuse myself?
There's no.
This is an informational item, so there's no motion or necessary tonight.
So no.
Now you have to stay.
Bad boy.
Good try. Now, the only thing I would add is that, since this is really, at least as far as I know from our time, yours and mine here, the first time we're doing a concerted multi-street, program for paving, that we're also working, in concert with all of this on public information and outreach. And there'll be the usual signage and cones and all those kinds of, people with slow and stop. But even before that happens, we're definitely going to be, using Nextdoor to get the word out. I'm envisioning that we're going to have, we'll set up a web page, which can just, give, we'll put things like this on there, as well as, when we get closer to exact dates on things, we can post all that on the website, so people can really have a resource to go to have some idea of what's happening and kind of be kept abreast. We just want to make sure that the community, as best we can, knows what's going on, because it can be disruptive.
Right.
And so, but, we're going to do everything we can to get the word out and minimize as much pain as possible.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple of questions or ideas. So the question is, we talked about how there's going to be a lot of money available, and a lot of people a lot of other cities are going to be competing with us for the resources of the different contractors out there. And 2018, we're probably trying to get in there as best as we can. I know you guys are working really hard on that. For future years, though, is it feasible to try to approach some of these companies and say, hey, here's our plan now for the next 2 to 5 years, to see if we could try to lock in some kind of a price and commitment for them for the long term, or they know that they're in a buyer's market or a seller's market, I guess is really the way to say it, and they're just going to hold out and say, you know what, we're taking them year by year, and whatever the going price is for that year, that's what we're going to charge.
Unfortunately, with public projects, we have to go out to bid and formally basically bid the project, get the sealed bid. So unfortunately, we don't have that option of negotiating with them. What we can do is to make sure that we announce that the project is out to bid, do a really good job of reaching out to the contractor, and that's what we normally do with a project, that we want to make sure that it gets enough exposure to all the contractors. And notifying them when the next phase is out, we will call you, we will let you know, please come in, pick up our bid package, give us a bid, and that's the extent of what we can do. Unfortunately, we cannot lock him into any prices or anything like that.
Okay. Well, then for the bid, then could we make the bid for a multiple year project?
I don't think they'll.
No,
hold
I
that
don't.
price.
Yeah,
They probably
unfortunately-
wouldn't want one of those, huh?
Right, because what's interesting, I was going to give you an example of that. I remember I worked on a project almost about 5 years ago. The prices that we saw back then is higher even still, because the demand is high, because the oil prices has gone down. the contractor unfortunately cannot anticipate what the cost of the current material will be, so we cannot, lock him down for the next few years.
Okay, great. And then the next comment is really more, this is what happens when I think about things too much, but just looking in the future as we're putting together the pavement management program, I don't know if there's any way to think ahead for the different type of undergrounding capabilities there is for utilities such as electrical or phone or cable or anything like that, and maybe present that option again if we do move forward with something like darn it, why can't I think of the name of it? The tax district, the assessment district. And say, hey, if you guys want to have your utilities undergrounded, maybe this is a time to approach people who might be interested in something like that, along with curbs. Or if there's any technology available that we can say, hey, if we wanted to do undergrounding in the future, this is a great time to really start putting the infrastructure in place to do that. So nothing you can probably answer, but just wanted to throw that thought out there.
That's appreciated, and I think going to the Better Streets Commission and having that kind of a dialogue and looking at different funding options and project options like that, that's excellent.
Awesome. Okay, any other questions or comments? Well, thank you, Julie and Jim, for showing up tonight and for your presentation.
Thank you. Sorry to be late.
Oh, no.
My apology.
Okay, so that moves us into the committee and commission reports, and we'll start with our remote council members first. Curtis, would you like to go first?
No, nothing for me.
Okay, Avert?
Nothing. I've been traveling.
Okay, Rowena? We'll
Nothing.
go for the in-house. Okay.
Nothing for me.
Wow, now I'm going to feel bad. 'Cause I'm going to talk. No. I'm going to keep it really short then. At the Cities Association, I brought up a question during our work plan. We were going over the work plan for the year, and I said, why isn't there anything about regionalization in the work plan? And that took us immediately off into about a 20-minute discussion that I don't think anybody was prepared to have, but it ended up becoming very spirited anyway. So the short part of the story is, at next month's meeting, we're supposed to be having people come in from MTC, which is MTC/ABAG, and talk to us about regionalization. So hopefully I'll have something more to report on, and potentially we'll even have an agenda item so we can have maybe some times that we can discuss it amongst ourselves instead of just doing it in a committee report. And but some of the things that were brought up, just to kind of get everybody thinking, is that nothing's been really done formally. I know we had all heard talk about Cindy Chavez trying to put together some kind of a group to make a regionalization more of a process, but that doesn't seem to have happened. And that when I asked, what would a city like ours be expected to contribute to a regionalization effort, nobody had any answer. Of course, everybody was willing to give us their numbers or take a nice chunk of money, but there was nothing even on the table about what a city like ours would be expected to give up. So hopefully after that meeting is, so it'll be the second Tuesday, so I'll be able to bring a report back at our second meeting in March. We'll at least have a little bit more information on what we should expect from a regionalization effort. And the rest of the meetings, nothing really exciting to report out. So we'll move on to council member comments. And we'll go remotely again. Curtis, any comments?
No comments.
Okay. Avert?
No comments. Thank you.
Okay. Rowena?
No comments.
I would just like to suggest that in future agendas that we consider the topic of opening up the issue of other potential sites within the city where we might be able to zone for multifamily housing. There's a lot of steps that need to be completed with respect to our settlement that we talked about last week, and the proposals that might be coming forward, and I think it would be helpful to be prepared. So I would hope that we might be able to put something like that on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay.
That's all.
Great. And then my comment is, again, relating to the most recent shooting incident that occurred in Florida. And I guess people are trying to hit while the emotions are high. And I received a letter from a group that is looking for cities to participate in a gun buyback program. And although I don't think we have the resources or the abilities to do some type of a program like this, what I would like to place on the agenda for next meeting is for our staff to take a look at some of our neighbors, Los Gatos, Saratoga, see if anybody's interested in sponsoring one of these things and how Monte Sereno could participate. This could even include some money. I don't know how much money they would be looking for us to contribute, but I would like to be able to have an agenda item where we direct staff to just take a look at what's available for us to maybe help make some sort of a dent in this really just horrible tragedy that continues to occur. So I talked to Terry about it earlier, and he said he would take the reins on this.
I will, and instead of setting it for the next meeting, which it may still be, I'd like to ask that we have time to reach out and see what we can figure out.
Right.
And it may not necessarily we have an answer by the next meeting, but I'd say agendize it at the earliest possible time.
Yes.
If that's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. And with that, we go to the city manager's report.
So I'll just be real fast because I know folks must be hungry. Just to remind everyone, the Better Streets Commission will be meeting for the first time on the 8th of March at 7 p.m. Also, today we have now engaged the services of a new IT person who is providing our IT service needs. Started today, so I hope that will help us move much more quickly to finalize the upgrades in the chambers and some other things that the public and council wouldn't necessarily see, but that are important to our operations. So I'm really happy we finally found somebody to really take over from our existing vendor. And then the last thing is the county librarian for Santa Clara County actually came back with the gentleman, I can't remember his name, it's the local librarian at Saratoga, came to meet, talk some more about some possibilities of using our little space next door. So we were still getting a conversation going, but as soon as I hear a little bit more from her about what the county's thoughts might be, then I can start having a conversation with the rest of you about that. But it's just I get a good feeling that we might have something going here that might be really nice for our community.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with that then, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for a great meeting tonight, and try to stay warm out there. Thanks, Curtis and Abert. I'm going to sign you off now.
Thanks,